And I just want clarification for my own purposes. So after a veteran dies, you'll take what's in that account, a veteran that was in the home, but then do you go after any of their estate outside of that? If they have a house, if they have anything outside of what's in the account?
Well, I know Mr. Geis wants to answer this, but let me give you my view of how it's done. What is in the estate is in the estate, and that is what is looked at to gain whatever the balance of that cost is. If you're the daughter and you have earnings in your own assets and you are not a part of that estate, we do not look at your assets. We only look at the assets that are involved in the estate.
But if you were a daughter living in that veteran's house, then would you go after that veteran's house?
It is, we treat these estate recovery cases just like any decedent's estate. The family, ordinarily, we prefer that the family operates and administers the estate, and many do. They hire an attorney or they do it themselves, but you gather together all the assets, not just the members' fund accounts. Many of our residents, not many, but a few have substantial assets outside the members' fund accounts. They may have stocks and bonds. We've had some anecdotal stories of people who had substantial assets. They gather together all the assets. They gather together all the bills. They put the bills in priority order, and the bills are paid. And when all the bills are paid, including the Commonwealth's claim, which has a priority claim, when all the bills are paid, the remaining assets are distributed to the heirs, whether there be a will and there be designated heirs in the will or under the laws of intestate succession. It is really just an estate claim handled like any estate matter. When the family does not choose to administer the estate, or there is no one in the family to administer the estate, which does happen sometimes, and as you saw in the statistics we provided, I think in about 111 cases in the last few years, we have administered the estate or opened a small estate. In those cases, we become, the Commonwealth becomes the administrator of the estate. It goes through the same process, and we actually have had cases where we've administered the estate. The bill for the veterans' home has been paid, and the remaining assets have been paid to the heirs because they had more assets than the Commonwealth's bill. So
the difference between the way you operate and DPW is that DPW takes the assets up front and you take the assets on the end?
Well, DPW will explain that, but DPW, the homes that people go into collect their payments based on their cost of care. They have a bill, and they don't calculate what your bill is based on the ability to pay. You pay your bill whether you use your assets or your income until you have nothing left or you qualify for medical assistance or other assistance. There's a whole legal practice we have where people plan their estates to deal with that, and I think DPW can explain that better. But DPW also has estate claims. When someone receives medical assistance and dies, DPW has an estate claim against the estate for the medical assistance benefits that have been paid while they're alive, and they do collect estate claims as well as we do, and they follow, I think, a very similar process as we do.
How many estates do you think we have that you have filed claims against right now?
In the last 5 years, we have had 3,100 estate claims. Over half of them were either zero or less than $100.
Go after them if they're less than $100?
If the money is available, we collect the money.
How much money does that cost us to go after something that's
in most
$100?
In most cases, it costs nothing because it is we send out a notice to the resident, to the relatives, to the next of kin. It contains a form, a verification form. They send it back. If you're talking about these small amounts, as General Gould said, in most cases they simply sign off and say, you may take the money. If there are other bills, obviously, that have higher priority, they're paid first. And we really do look at funeral expenses. Every day I hear our attorneys talking to family members and lawyers saying, if you have funeral expenses, you get those first. But in the case where somebody has a prepaid burial account, and we do encourage people to have prepaid burial accounts, that pays the funeral expenses. So I think we really have a program that works exactly in accordance with the law and the procedures set up by the Probate Estate and Fiduciaries Code and the rules of court for probate. It's very carefully monitored, overseen by the families. We get lots of input from the families, and we operate very professionally.
When you give them this financial form to read, what are they given when they walk in? What is the family or the veteran handed to look at when they come in? Do they hand a big stack of papers, a little stack of papers? And what are they?
Well, ma'am, and I'll let Mr. Kane get into more specifics, but I think there's a process, and some of us have gone through this process in private homes. It's very similar that upon application for admissions, there's a series of documents that are to fill out with your family. There are several documents that are filled in when they arrive at the home, which include those forms that you were just holding up. And again, it's not giving to them. There's a person that sits down across the table from them and talks them through these forms and makes sure either themselves or their power of attorney understands what it is that they're going to sign.
Okay, thank you.